All right, welcome back to the Pure Playbook. I'm Dr. Dustin Bosson with the Dr. Nate Merhaut. Excited to go through another episode giving more information for student athletes and their parents trying to keep up. This one's going to be all about mental toughness. I think there's going to be a little bit of a spin on this one. I don't think we're going to talk about exactly what you might think we're going to talk about. I think this is going to be some of the conversations that maybe nobody is talking about or nobody wants to talk about. This is going to be a perspective shift a little bit here. So make sure you follow, like, subscribe the podcast, send us any comments, questions you might have, and keep up with us on the social medias. That way you can see what we're doing, the athletes that we're seeing, the impact we're starting to make, which is great. But let's dive in. Mental toughness.
So mental toughness this whole month. If you haven't noticed, we've been having some themes and trends with the podcasts and the sequential order that we're doing them. But this month, the next 4 or 5 are going to be on the mental pillar itself and diving into some specific topics on that mental pillar, this one being mental toughness. And not only toughness in sport, we're going to also link this on just how mental toughness in life is important in applying that, because the student athlete is not just the athlete, it's also the student, and they have a life outside of sports. So mental toughness has to carry over through that as well.
Yeah. And for me, this very quickly jumps into the misnomer of what mental toughness really is and should be talked about, especially at the student athlete level. There's definitely the resilience and motivation and determination and drive and effort and consistency and all of those things.
Let me give you more of a definition first, what most people think of it, and then you kind of go into what we want to go into a little bit more.
Yeah.
So more of a definition for what mental toughness, if you're looking up like dictionary or research kind of a thing, it's the ability to consistently perform at your best despite stress, adversity, and pressure. And that comes from the American Psychological Association. So that's more from a definition standpoint, what a lot of people think about. But yeah, tell us more so how we want to approach this.
So, and I do like that definition because I think it's going to incorporate a little bit of where I'm coming from with this. Mm-hmm. And that's the biggest thing. And like I said at the beginning, is I want to talk about this from a perspective of that maybe not a lot of people are talking from, where mental toughness, like I was saying before, isn't all about the resiliency and push through and the drive and determination. But also I could jump to the end, but I'm going to jump right to it and just go to the Mamba mentality of that bullet point we have here. Obviously a big Kobe guy over here. But he talks about the 1% better every day. And he talks about, always showing up and a lot of things that are important. But I think the misnomer is a lot of kids in a lot of scenarios, we've talked about how emotion can cloud all judgment, and especially from a coaching standpoint or a household standpoint where they're very young and confused and developing and learning what all of this means and looks like. But a lot of the conversation, because of the competitive edge in the environment that they're in, is push through, work harder, show up early, which can all be important things, but it's from the directive and the perspective that you're coming at, because that can also, I'm going to say, stressful. I mean, these kids don't need to be coddled. They need to be shown the mental toughness side of it. But I think we really need to define and show them that there is a dichotomy of what mental toughness looks like. There's definitely the Navy SEAL side of mental toughness. And I think that's what a lot of people go to when they think about mental toughness. How do you overcome? How do you shut everything out? How do you push through adversity? How do you get through injury? How do you ignore the pain? When a lot of times too, it's more of that softer version of resilience and committing to yourself and committing to your team and your family and your studies and everything. That, like, there's a mental toughness of really, I think consistency is what student athletes should be told for as mental toughness as a foundation, is be consistent. If you can be consistent, there's a mental toughness in that alone. Right. And that's something that I had always struggled with, and I still struggle with, is there's so much going on and there's so many voices and so many ears and opportunities and things and stresses. And it's like, you can become inconsistent and change your priorities. So I think from my perspective, I'd talk more about consistency to these student athletes when it comes to the mental toughness side.
Yeah. I want to touch a little bit, since you brought up Kobe and Mamba mentality, where kind of why that was in a sense created, and we're going to get into alter ego, and that's kind of where the Mamba mentality came from. And there's lots of famous people that have this alter ego, or they create this persona of somebody else that's not technically who they are off the field. And that's a great way to create mental toughness, because it puts you in a sense in the zone when you're being that alter ego, and that can create mental toughness. And you don't necessarily have to carry that over as much, into the other hats that you wear, whether it's the student, the brother, the family member, the friend. But it's something that you can literally create. It's not necessarily something you're born with, but you can create this mental toughness, and it's something that can be learned and developed over time. And that's where that Mamba mentality comes into play, where another famous person that did this same thing was Bo Jackson. And he never played a game on the football field. It was literally some other persona that he was.
Yeah.
And he said in an interview that he never played a game of football in his life. It was this other person, in quotes. And it was just this personality that he created because, and this works with other, I mean, I'm going down a rabbit hole, but this works with other issues that you have on the field. So say you have maybe anger issues, and you are always getting in foul trouble on the court. So people have developed a way to get around that by creating this alter ego and not letting that get in the way, not letting that heightened anger and intensity get in the way, by just literally creating the alter ego that doesn't let that happen on the court. And then that's how they become successful within their sport. So know that this is something you can create and develop on your own, and literally develop your own. My son to this day, he's 3 years old, and I don't know if he realizes he did it, but he created his own alter ego, because when he's on the hockey, when he's playing hockey, Jody comes out. And so Jody is his hockey persona, and he gave me mine, and mine's hot chocolate. And so
that was a street ball guy, I think.
I don't know, but you want to create your own, because you can perform at a different level by doing that, and also, like I said, work through some of the issues that you have. And a lot of these famous athletes that are changing the way that they play the game, because they've had so many issues prior to, have been coached in a way. And this is through, performance coaching, mental coaching. They literally seek someone out that helps them with this.
Yeah.
And it's been done over and over and over, and proven to work.
Yeah. And I mean, to bring that full circle, that's literally where Black Mamba came from.
Exactly.
And so, and Marilyn Monroe was another one. Yep. I mean, you want to look at
Beyonce was another one.
Yep. And so you look at that side of things, and some of those things aren't by accident. And that's something I wish I would have known, a little sooner. But there's so many different aspects when it comes to mental toughness. And I was literally, as I do my death scroll in the morning in the sauna, or I take a little bit of time and absorb some things in social media just to see what's going on in the student athlete world. And even just this morning, seeing a post where a parent was, talking about, coaches, like, come on, there's a time and place to be ripping into these kids, and there's a way to do it. And it's funny that we're talking about this today on the podcast, because, we see them here in the office, and it kills me. And that's why, I would think, and correct me if I'm wrong out there, but when you think mental toughness, you think of the Navy SEAL, the Marines, and that kind of mental toughness. And I think that can shine through. And I think it does a lot, if I'm being honest, of, in the injury situation, or if somebody's not playing hard enough or up to their skill level, it's like, you got to be tougher. You got to deal with it. You got to show up early. You got to put the work in. You got to push through the pain and adversity. And, sometimes that, while that might be true in some scenarios, which I want to be careful saying, there's a way to deliver that, because there's also a personal side. You're still dealing with a person. So that consistency, and having, the recollection or the recognition of the alter egos, like you're talking about, and instilling some of that, like, who do you want to be when you show up? And pick somebody who is consistent, pick somebody who is a leader. That's something that I say to my kids all the time is, be a leader. Anytime they get out of the car, if I take them to school or when they go out on the ice, hey, be a leader out there. And whether they wear the C one day or not, doesn't really matter, but it's that mindset of, how do you speak? Look good, feel good, play good. That's another thing. Talk about mental toughness. Yeah. Like, and this is bit of an impromptu, not very scripted, not that any of them are with these podcasts, but you want to get me on a rant, talk about the look good, feel good, play good.
Yeah.
You know, when we were going through our doctorates, I think you and I were very similar, and we didn't show up to our board exams, all 5 of them, in sweats and a hoodie. And I can guarantee you those who did, and I watched a lot of people do it, that failed boards. And there's a level of look good, feel good, play good, whether it's in the mirror, whether it's in public, whether it's in your heart, in your mind, what you're seeing. Look good, feel good, play good. And at the end of the day, when it comes to mental toughness and something you want to be better at and diligent with and consistent or learn, ask questions. And if a student athlete is coming to you with those questions, I dealt with another athlete with this in the same breath. Kind of a tough scenario, playing time issue, coming off an injury. And it's very hard when you're asking for feedback, coming back from a big injury or having a bad game, or you're in a slump, no matter what sport you're playing, and asking for feedback. And is this how you see it? What am I doing? What can I do better? And some of these coaches have the audacity to look at them as a number and be like, well, you just got to work harder. You got to get back faster. You need to stop casting your hands. You need to stop. It's like, this person is asking you for help.
Right.
And as a coach, and what I try to do, because I am the first one to get very competitive and want to win, like, winning's fun. I'm not there for participation trophies, but the perspective of winning is fun, but I'm dealing with kids and people. And so honoring that when they ask you the questions, that is a person asking you how they can get better at something they love. Don't rip them of that, because talk about mental toughness depleted instantly. Somebody that they thought they could trust, that somebody that they could pour into, something that they love and want to be better at. And all you have to say is something derogatory, backhanded, passive aggressive. Well, you need to run faster. You need to show up earlier. You need to put in more time. It's like, that ain't it.
Right.
In some scenarios, maybe it is.
Right.
Chances are
there's a time and place for it. I did like how you said the look good, feel good, play good, because that also goes into one of my points that I wanted to make, was developing a pre-game or pre-practice routine, something that you're doing to get you into that right mental capacity, mental toughness state that is consistent, like you said. And it's just that routine that kind of puts you there. And then once you're kind of through that routine, nothing can take you out of it, because you've put that other hat on. You're that alter ego once you've gotten through that pregame or that pre-practice routine. And I say pre-practice too, because you should also carry that over to practice. A lot of people have a pre-game routine, but it's not the same as their pre-practice routine. Why not be the same? Because if you don't practice the way that you're going to play, then it can kind of have some overlapping effect that you're not doing yourself justice when you're practicing.
Don't lose your spot here. I'm going to say one thing. We had a coach in high school. I don't know if it was Coach Schutte. There was a coach in high school. Maybe it was Coach Bay. But practice doesn't make perfect.
Right.
Perfect practice makes perfect. So along those lines, it's like, why would you do anything different? Like, why would you do anything different? Why would you go out and during basketball practice and shoot with a girl's ball and not a boy's ball, or vice versa? Like, but you know, how you carry yourself, how you prep. I'm not a superstitious person. I don't care what shoe I tie first, but there is an ambiance, a mental capacity, a physical capacity that you should be diligent and consistent with. Absolutely. But perfect practice makes perfect.
Yeah. I'm not superstitious, but I'm a little stitious. But yeah, along those same lines with the pregame routine, you see all these athletes do it. One that pops into mind just because I love him is Sidney Crosby, and doing his little hockey routine on the McDonald's M, where he kind of does a stick handling thing. Every home pregame is, I guess they have to keep McDonald's as a sponsor is one thing, because if they didn't, they'd throw his whole routine off. And you know, another thing, he was worn the same pads, you know, through, I don't know how long he's worn those, but all the way through his professional career, and I think also through college. But those kind of things where they do have those superstitions sometimes, which plays into that mental toughness, whether they think it works or it doesn't. If it works for them, then that's what works. If someone else doesn't think it works, then you know, they have nothing to say, you know, to that person, because it's your own individual routine and own individual stitions on what works and what doesn't. But an interesting thing that I also wanted to touch on that I found was there's 4 C's of mental toughness that a sports psychologist came out with, and those are control, commitment, challenge, and confidence. And it's a decent summary of what mental toughness is. Control being staying composed and managing your emotions under stress, and that can cross over from sport to real life. The commitment, which literally what you just said,
Yeah.
with maintaining the effort and focus despite any obstacles that are thrown your way. Challenge, viewing setbacks as opportunities to grow, and this is one that I've even touched on in the past, and I love that the mindset of how you view failure, how you view losses and those setbacks to actually opportunities to grow. It's data that's given to you for a reason, so that you can change and make yourself better for the next time. And then the confidence, which is belief in one's abilities under pressure and in different scenarios, which confidence is key with a lot of our student athletes, especially when we're dealing with return to sport and if they dealt with an injury, because it shows susceptibility to injury goes sky high if you don't have the confidence and you have, we talked about this before, the kinesiophobia of moving, even though the tissue is healed. So that confidence plays over into the injury side of it too.
The confidence side too. I'm just going to use this analogy, but it's kind of like training a dog or a husband. It's like reward the good behavior.
Yeah.
Right. So a lot of times it's like, somebody goes off and, they score 20 points in a game, or they have a good practice, they're picking people up, and it's like, man, they're really turning it on today. Like I'm glad Joey's on it today. Mm-hmm. But they never voice that to them. And it's just like, they don't need to sit out during run drills. It's not that, but it's like, pull them aside and be like, I've done this before, where it's like, what the hell are you doing? And they're like, what? I'm like, where's this at all the time? I was like, you look phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like you are crushing it. You're communicating, you're picking people up. You're like everything about, like, keep this up, like high five. Here we go. Like, keep it up, man. Love to see it. Or, hun, I call the girls hun, but that stuff matters. Reward them for the good things that you are seeing. And that will help build confidence and culture in a team where, in this world today, I could get off on a long tangent. Like, I hate the stress. I hate the societal norm of push, grind, stress, and celebrate when good things happen. It's like, there's plenty of good things going on. And especially in these student athletes that are developing, learning, maturing, help them through that process and show them what they've done good and right. And then the control, one of my favorite movies, people are going to laugh at me, it'll make sense, but Days of Thunder, Nicole Kidman plays one of the lead roles, but she tells Cole Trickle, the driver, control's an illusion, you infantile egomaniac. Mm-hmm. And it really is. So when I look at control, it's, yes, keeping in control, but control is an illusion, and identifying that and realizing that you can't even control what you can only control.
Yeah.
Like, everything was laid out before we were born. I could go down that route too, but control is an illusion. Mm-hmm. And the sooner you get that, and you take every minute, every second, every opportunity not for granted, you start to view things a little differently. And this is what I am currently, like, honestly trying to work on. And I'm reading a book through this too, but I just want to get that out there, that whether you're a coach, you're a parent, you're a student athlete, control is an illusion. Control what you can control, we'll say, but don't let the things, the court, the weather, the coaches, the this, the that, like, uncontrollable. The outcome is uncontrollable. You can only do what you can do, and stay present and find something that's bigger than you that you're focusing on. Whether, you can go into commitment and challenge, like challenge yourself to see the game, to see each individual game, the sport that you're playing, as something bigger on a road to something bigger. Because every time you step on the field, or you're in the stands watching your kids, or whatever it is, like, there is something bigger that's going to happen, that is being built now, that's going to come up 10 years from now. And you can make it great, or you can make it very unfortunate. And, so then you can go into the psychology of that, but just know that, this is all bigger than us. And if you can attach yourself to something like that sooner, it does make this a lot easier.
Yeah.
And another thing that I wish I would have done sooner, and I always try to instill the love of the game to anybody I coach or my kids. And so it's this is one of the most fun things for me, and could be one of my bigger issues that I had when I was growing up, which is why I like to speak on it, because let us pay the dummy tax for you, and
right.
again, it's perspective. Take it with a grain of salt, but that's just my experience.
Yeah, the mental control is definitely something you have control over. I mean, you can work on how you respond and how you think and process things when certain scenarios and situations are presented, where you don't always necessarily have control from like the physical side of things, how your body responds physically. Yeah, you can train and do all that stuff, but where it is mentally is where you have the most control. And a lot of that comes down to, correlating that with sport is, who is going to be put on the free throw line to win the game? Who is going to take the penalty shot and do those kind of things? Who's going to catch the Hail Mary ball kind of a thing? And the people that are being put in those scenarios are ones that are seen as having very strong mental toughness, because they're not letting all those outside parameters get in the way of how they can control their mindset, as well as how their mind is controlling what they're physically about to do. And so, good examples of some of those athletes are, like Michael Jordan's in those clutch scenarios, like the ball is going to be in his hand. And even like Simone Biles, mental strength through overcoming adversity and things like that with injuries or how the public sees her. But that's also where I see mental toughness come into play in every single team. There's going to be certain athletes that are seen as the go-tos, and that is direct crossover to sometimes how much mental toughness they have and how much mental control they have over those tough situations, and they're not going to be the ones that break under pressure.
Yeah. And one of the other points in here too, kind of coming off of that, is being in that growth mindset to be able to step in those positions and opportunities, or maybe you're not the one that's called on right now, and maybe that's something that you do want to do and you strive to be, and you want to take the shot. You want to be up in the bottom of the ninth of the World Series with full count, 2 outs. But that growth mindset of if you think you know everything, you'll never learn anything. And if you're just learning stepwise the game, or you're not really in that growth mindset of looking at the bigger picture, that could hinder even the mental mindset of what is that bigger picture. So having the growth mindset of not only how to perform better, it's bigger than that. How do I communicate better? How do I my vision of the game on and off the court or the field, I'll say, a growth mindset, a humbled growth mindset, and being vulnerable. What could I have done better? And really honing yourself in your craft takes that. And what's the quote? I'm going to butcher it, but I think you guys will know what I'm saying. It's good players do it till they get it right. Great players do it till they can't get it wrong. And it's like learning what you need to do and how you need to do it, and how you make other people better through it. And I mean, that was one of Kobe's things too, is it's like, how does he learn to play with other people? And it's like, seeing it all along, it's, he didn't give people the ball who weren't consistent, that didn't show up. He didn't want it in anybody else's hands who didn't do the work.
Right.
Like, they didn't see that side of it until it was too late. It's like, I see that early in his career, but you want to talk about somebody who was so showed up consistently before everybody else, had that mentality, the growth mindset. They saw what they wanted to see. They interpreted what they saw as they wanted to interpret it when he was on the floor.
Right.
But the work done behind, and the growth mindset, and what he was actually doing from here wasn't just push through. I'm the best. I want to be the best. Like, that was a goal, but that wasn't the why.
Yeah.
Right.
One thing that this can do for a lot of athletes, that we've talked with a lot of coaches and a lot of high level recruiters and people that pay attention to this kind of stuff, is that you can have all the God-given talent in the world, but if you don't have the mental toughness and the mental capacity and the mental smarts for the sport itself, then they don't really want you. And the nice thing about this is it is trainable. It is something that you can learn. So even if you're lacking a little bit in the talent side, the physical components of the sport, work on this, because this can get you very far. And again, like I said, it's, cracking under pressure. And if you're not going to be the one that cracks under pressure, that's sometimes more valuable than the one that can, shoot an eagle every, or get close to the pin kind of thing. That was a terrible analogy. I don't know where I was going with that, but you kind of get where I'm saying.
Allowed.
Someone that has the talent to do certain things, but if they can't be consistent because of the mental component of it, again, back to the consistency, then you're not valued as much to be in those scenarios.
Yeah. Actionable takeaways. We could make this as long as we want to make it, but let's just kind of go into takeaways and kind of conclude this episode here. But put yourself in more situations to be uncomfortable. And ask more questions. I've said this a lot too. You guys hear it all the time, is ask better questions, get better answers,
right, is
another one, whether it's your game, your vision, your grades, your whatever, what else can I get involved in? How do I serve more people? That's important too. And then just sticking on the Kobe trend is, look at your time frame of be honest with yourself. And look at the time frame, look at the times that you're putting in, because mental toughness could also be saying no to something now because of something bigger that you want later. And so he goes through, and there's reels out there still to this day that people are putting out. But the one I love is, it's like, okay, people always ask, like, what do I do? It's like, well, let me explain something to you. He's like, I practice 3 times more than people since I was young.
Right.
And he's like, you get up at 7, you eat breakfast 8, you're on the court by 9 to 11, you eat at noon, noon to 1, back on the court, maybe at 3 to 5, recover, eat, and, hang out, rest, recover, go to bed. And it's like me, he's like, I'm up at 4 to 6, practice, 6 to 7, recover, 7, eat. I'm back on the court at 9 to 11, boom, eat, recover, back on the court at 1 to 3, and then 5 to 7. And it's just like, holy cow. He's like, I could quadruple the time that I put in. And that's the commitment side,
right,
but also how you can build mental toughness, because it's like, hey bro, we're going to the movies. I got work to do. And there's a time to be a person, right? But scheduling that in. But I think a lot of times the goals that are put out there, I think a lot of athletes, it's just coming to me off the top right now, because this was me too. A lot of athletes have these big goals, dreams, and aspirations, and they put a mental block on how they can't, but they're also not putting in the work that it takes to be able to actually become that. I think if people actually knew the work that it took to get there, they might not have even started.
Right.
They're hoping to get lucky instead of doing the work.
Yeah, it's what's behind closed doors is what, the effort that's put in. But my actionable takeaways are: 1, develop that pre-practice routine that is unique to you, so that you enjoy it, and then you can get into that mode and create that alter ego. Working on resilience and the effect of embracing failure and looking at it from a different mindset. So how you can take failure and use that data to make yourself better. And then even just practicing and exposing yourself to situations that stress you out, in a sense. Lean into those hard situations so that you can get better in the long run.
Yep. Look good, feel good, play good, ask better questions, get better answers, and stay consistent. So,
all right, now that we're mentally drained, Sam, what do you have?
That's heavy.
I could listen to you guys talk about this kind of stuff all day. And I do.
Yeah.
Here in the office. But we all know that I am a football girl, and the draft is coming up at the end of this month. And as our 2 resident Pittsburghians here, the Steelers have been going through it this offseason. So give us your takeaways on the Steelers offseason moves. And do we think Aaron Rodgers is coming? And how do we feel about that?
I don't think they have a choice.
I think it's, at this point, Tomlin's given him the opportunity, and it's up to him if he wants to take the opportunity or retire. And he's wanting to play, and it's almost like he doesn't want to just have to sign with the Steelers, because he doesn't see that that's the team that's going to, give him the tools that he needs to take it all away. But they've made some good signs with DK Metcalf, that they were just actually throwing around the other day. They showed. So maybe he's considering. I know a lot of people aren't loving the Aaron Rodgers talk, but I'm not hating it. I think he put up some great numbers, even though they didn't have a great record last year. So, he still can play at a high level. of talking about the mental toughness side of it. He worked through a whole Achilles rupture and came back. So that even shows that he has some left in him, that drive that's still possibly there.
Mental toughness.
Yeah. But I think the Steelers are in a rebuild stage right now. They're waiting. I think they're waiting on the right draft pick, just like kind of how they drafted Ben Roethlisberger, and he was the franchise quarterback for a long time. So whether that's trading someone now to find that franchise quarterback, or just kind of playing a couple years and waiting for that right guy to show up. The unfortunate thing is there's a lot of veteran guys right now that really only have a year to 3 years left, and those guys are kind of key to the team right now. And if you lose those within the next 3 years, you're kind of losing time too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all turmoil for me. I mean, Pittsburgh's kind of notorious for this at times, where it's like, they invest into their team and then they absolutely don't.
Yeah.
And so I hate that Aaron Rodgers is like the last option. I don't think he was my first pick. I mean, he's decorated Hall of Famer. Like, put him back there, he'll do a great job. I think I don't know anything about scouting and numbers and things like that. I'm a gutty person when it comes to this, but I've said this even all last year. I think they missed on the Justin Fields conversation.
Yeah.
I think I don't know how you start the season the way you do, and just because you have a bigger contract, you play him. That's, you're trying to keep peace in the locker room, and you're sacrificing. Like, I don't know. I can put in every story, and I don't know the whole scenario, but the only thing I had said, and I hope Justin Fields takes into this year, is one of the biggest things that he could learn from somebody like Russell Westbrook, who's a great quarterback, or Russell Wilson, Russell Wilson, on a big team. I would almost take any day with that kind of experience. But Russell Wilson is that finesse.
Oh yeah.
The finesse with the deep ball, but Justin Fields' vision and his ability to move and to be the Roethlisberger was really I feel like they've always been looking for a slash quarterback, and they had Cordell Stewart, who was kind of all over the place, but never really committed to that position. He punted, he wide receiver, but then you got Ben. It's like, okay, but he could still move and be mobile for as big as he was. But they were looking for that slash quarterback, and it's like, well, he
had
is,
him.
And he can literally learn from somebody who throws one of the best finesse balls in the league right now, in Russell Westbrook.
He was still very coachable at that time,
and so that's my take on it. I don't know. I think Najee's gone now.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I'm not too worried about the running back position. Normally we're just always stacked there. So we always find somebody that can play the role as a Pittsburgh running back. And
they got some threats to throw to.
Same
they got
thing
targets.
With tight ends. They always have the tight end that is consistent and reliable. That's where mental toughness I see on the Pittsburgh Steelers is. It's always the tight end position. It's
amazing to me. I don't keep up a whole lot, as much as a lot of fantasy players and people do like that. I've never played fantasy before in my life. Fun fact: never played fantasy football. But for the weapons that we do have, Firemouth, DK Metcalf, Pickens, it's like, what quarterback wouldn't want to throw to that set?
Right.
Like, holy cow. So I don't know. There's my answer. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I hope some of that hits home with you. Again, like, subscribe, give us some comments. Happy to go through any questions that you might have, and stay tuned as we continue to launch more out, and we'll see you next time on the Pure Playbook. See ya.